Success is about finishing what you start. Am I right? I mean, if you're not ready to follow through, it might not be worth starting at all. At least that's the mindset I've needed to have when I accomplish many things because, hey, if you're really struggling to reach a goal, it might not be a lack of skill, but really a lack of, well, mindset stuff, but also sustained commitment. And we can get into the mindset stuff, but if we're not taking any action on anything, let's take health and fitness because that's what we talk about on this podcast a lot. That's where people fall short is that commitment. I mean, you can decide, hey, I'm going to do this, or I made up my mind, I'm going to do this. But if you don't actually commit and follow through and do anything about it, you're going to get distracted, or life is going to take you on a journey away from where you're wanting to go. So we're going to talk about that today. Before we get into all that stuff, make sure you head over to talktoperry.com. I'm going to drop that right down there in the lower third if you're on YouTube, or if you are listening, you can just head over to talktoperry.com, spelled out exactly the way it is, TalkToperry.com, if you're ready to recharge your battery. And I'm talking about your mental and physical battery so that you can get your energy up, tackle your commitments with confidence. Now let's break this down a bit here. Commitment. Sometimes we fear that because we're like, am I willing to do what it takes? Because it goes beyond just making a plan, having a strategy, typically overthinking things. It's about showing up for yourself consistently. And so if you find yourself always starting projects, and this could be like work projects, this could be projects around home, this could be projects for maybe you're starting a business, or in many people's case, especially right around the beginning of the year where they're wanting to get it going on their health and fitness stuff. If you're just not finishing or continuing on, that becomes a habit. And a lot of times it isn't even quitting. Now, quitting does become a habit because people can become master quitters. But for a lot of people, it's just kind of drifting off course. We come up with reasons and rationales and evidence of why we can't do it, or why we need to take a break, or why we need to, do these other things as priorities. And we'll get to that someday, maybe, and rarely do. And then we get so far off track, we get frustrated with ourselves. And over time, it really wears you down. It wears on your confidence. And it just builds this pattern of self-doubt, self-worry, and then it's like, okay, I got to get back to this. I got to do this. But time has gone on a little bit, so now you're at a different point, and it can seem even more humbling, more frustrating. The key is, and I'm saying this just from experience of starting and stopping my fitness journey a lot, and it was usually the commitment part that was holding me back because I was like, oh gosh, I don't want to put in the time and the energy to this and not have it work. So there was not having trust in the process and trust in myself, but also it was getting that sort of thing was getting me out of committing to what is needed and what was necessary. Well, basically, I needed to show up and get started for my exercise, but I would overthink that. I would go, oh my gosh, today's cardio day. I got to do this. I kind of twisted my ankle over the weekend. Maybe I should rest. And I would just go into this little battle, and I would build a case of why I didn't need to show up that day. So I don't know if that's you, but really commitment starts with respecting your own word. Now, first of all, you got to take responsibility for it because it's really easy to blame all the other external circumstances going on, isn't it? So we got to take responsibility for it and really start honoring our word. Let me ask you, are you a person of your word? Because when you commit to something, it should carry real weight. It's not just about promising things to others and saying things and I'll show you sort of thing, although that can help. It's about keeping promises to yourself. And when you do this, you start to build confidence. You start to become more trusting in yourself for other things when you do. So that was some of the things that I learned when I got on my journey, and I started becoming aware of when I was trying to get myself off the hook, giving myself an out. and I would justify it with a reason or come up with something. I was like building up some sort of story of why I didn't need to do it because I had an hour commute from work until I got home to work out. So there was a great discussion that would go on to try and talk myself out of it. But I'm like, no, you committed to doing this. Now, I started with a 90-day chunk. I'm like, I'm going to run 90 days in a row. At the time, when I first started, sounded pretty simple because, you could talk a big game. But when you needed to put skin in the game, when you needed to show up, you could be pretty convincing to say, well, I've got a to-do list, or well, because I was running a dog rescue, had a full-time job as a teacher, hour commute. I was running two side businesses, a web design and video production. Well, I could easily say I don't have time. I've got a project. I got some things, but I really wanted these goals. And one thing, if you're going to go after a goal, you need to have burning desire to have that goal and be willing to do whatever it takes. So if you really want to strengthen your follow through system, just start by setting fewer but more meaningful goals. So for me, the goal wasn't necessarily I've got to lose the 50 pounds. The goal was I need to show up each day. I need to just get started on my exercise. When I dialed it back to that, then when I found myself negotiating, I'm like, nope. If you got a headache, you're feeling off, you've got an overwhelming to-do list, you're committing. I'm committing to at least show up 15 to 20 minutes. If I couldn't get through the workout, I'd call it a day. But almost every time I'd finish the workout because all I needed to do was get started. Because in the beginning, I needed to create the habits as opposed to see this result. And I know for a lot of people, we see the before and afters of people and we're like, oh my gosh, I got to get that result. I'm looking down. I see my big beer gut and it's fighting with me with the steering wheel as I'm driving to work. So you can create some stories, but it's becoming aware of those and just reframing them. And each goal that you commit to should matter enough that you see it to follow through. So I made it start to really matter. I mean, so how do you do that? How does one go about making it matter? One was to stop setting big goals that has no clear finish line. A lot of times people will come to me and be like, Perry, I got to drop this weight. And I'm like, well, what's your goal? What are the things? And we start talking about those things. And they're like, I just want to lose some weight and get in shape. I'm like, what does that mean? What does that look like? How will you know? Oh, I'll know. And it's so vague. It's like trying to catch vapor. It's trying to catch motivation because it's so you can't do it. So instead, set specific actionable goals with deadlines. My goal was it wasn't even it was eventually to lose the beer gut. I didn't know how long it would take, but it was to show up every day and get started on my workout and do my best for 90 straight days. That was it. I kept it simple. And I kept it even more simple. It was pushing and pulling exercises, and I found at the time it was VHS tapes of a trainer that could walk me through it. So I took the guesswork out of what to do. Now, I wasn't a big fan of all the moves, but I didn't have to guess and procrastinate and talk myself out of exercise. I just followed along, did my best. The more defined you are in your goal, the easier it is to track your progress and stay motivated. You know how I tracked my progress? I put an X on the calendar. I kept it super simple. I showed up. I ran 90 days straight. Boom. Second thing is to just avoid overwhelming yourself with too many commitments at once. I think a lot of times people do that, especially with health and fitness stuff. They think they need the whole overhaul of stuff. So they will literally overwhelm themselves and eventually it comes all crashing down. So just focus on one or two key areas. I didn't even focus on my nutrition all that much. I focused on showing up, getting my exercise done. And I made a certain time of the day to do it. I used to come home and say, I got to sit down and relax for a bit to get motivated. I swapped that out to, because I never got motivated, I swapped that out to, I'm going to just come home, let the dogs do their business outside while I get my workout clothes in, let them in, feed them, go get my exercise done. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. If we had to travel for some sort of event, it was always, when's Perry going to get his workout done? I kind of became obsessive about it. I wanted to put an X on that calendar. So spreading yourself too thin, it means that you're likely to give into that quitting muscle, right? So another thing is just holding yourself accountable. And you could do this by a simple tracking system like I did with the calendar. You could, be a part of I run virtual groups now where every day, we all check in with our workout every day and just kind of give a little update. Nothing that takes too long. Just got this workout done. Felt great, good sweat. But it's a little check-in system. So whether that's for you, I mean, it could be a weekly check-in. I like the daily stuff because you could let a lot of stuff slide during the week, right? And then come up with a reason and a justification why you couldn't check in and all this stuff. Every day, it just keeps you honest. It also helps build momentum. And when you start noticing the progress, so here's what I did to notice my progress. Instead of stepping on the scale every day and going, oh my gosh, I'm gaining weight, I'm losing weight, I'm gaining weight, I got rid of the stuff that I knew would get inside my head. So what I did was every 30 days, I took pictures. Now I know those will be humbling for some people, and they were for me. Day 1 pictures. All right, I don't look too happy. Definitely don't like the results. Day 30 pictures. I do it every 30 days. Day 30 pictures. Yeah, I don't see any difference. Day 60 pictures. I don't see any. Day 90. Well, day 90, I'm seeing a little bit, but not where I thought I would be. Should I give up? Should I give in? Well, there's progress. What if I did it for another 90 days? And so I started to do that little pattern every 30 days. I was noticing the progress more and more. After a year, I was like, whoa, you just undid 13 years of unhealthy habits that just got you totally out of shape and distorted to back into better shape than where you were 13 years ago. And I looked at it as every week. It was kind of every week I showed up was like shaving a year off at the time. It was kind of a silly little mindset thing I did for me, but it reinforces your belief that you can finish what you start. So every little bit builds stronger, just that stronger commitment muscle, right? And the more you follow through, the easier it gets. I know sometimes it can be abstract, especially if you're at the beginning, you're humbled. I know when I first started, I could barely do a couple push-ups, and it was just humbling to where I was like, why even bother? But I set in my mind, I'm like, but after you do this for a few weeks, you're going to do more push-ups. So stop wallowing on this. Build up to it. Just go. And if you are, speaking of momentum, if you are drained or even stuck in the middle of your goals, let's connect. Head over to talktoperry.com and just let's chat. And in 15 minutes, we'll figure out where you can refocus and really get your energy back and keep moving forward on those goals. Talktoperry.com. Commitment, it's not just about sticking it out. I know a lot of times we create stories around commitment, where it's like, oh my gosh, I got to stick it out. And you can stick it out when things are easy, but when you can stay the course when it gets tough, I mean, there's going to be challenges that test you all along the way, and that's part of the process. You might not like it. I know I don't, but staying committed through those moments, that's what separates those who succeed from those who give up or just drift off course and then in another 30, 60, 90 days, months, years from now, decide to restart. So if you really want to build that reputation with yourself, that you can trust, that you can really trust yourself, then you need to start finishing what you start. And, not do it for anybody else, but do it for yourself. So you got to kind of do some inner thinking here, inner work. And just know that you can rely on yourself to follow through. And it really changes how you approach everything to do that. And you're going to feel more confident. You're going to feel more capable. This should excite you, right? More prepared to take on bigger challenges. I know you're like, oh, I don't want to take on more challenges. This is challenge enough. But more opportunities will come your way when you fully commit. Not halfway, not when it feels convenient, but total commitment. That's where real growth happens. So every time you honor that, you build a foundation for your future success. right? So just know you can choose to be in control, use your power, and really boost your energy following these things, or you can let excuses or your to-do list or giving your power away to other things and you're rationalizing and reasoning and defending limitations. You can let that control you and drain your power. It really boils down to deciding and committing to yourself and your goals and choosing to figure out new ways, looking at possibilities, learning and growing, and keep moving forward. You've got this, my friend. I'd love to hear your top takeaway from today. Drop those down in the comments. I promise I will reply. And as always, remember, it's never too late. We'll see you next week. That's another Power Blast podcast in the books. Thanks so much for tuning in. And remember, when you are ready to recharge your battery, make sure you go to talktoperry.com. That's talktoperry.com. That's Perry. And I want to listen. I want to hear, what's going on. I want to help you in that 15-minute call to recharge your battery and reclaim your power so that you're off and running and creating massive momentum toward your dream. Also, every day, I am delivering more motivation, support, tips, and strategies inside my free community with amazing people like yourself. And we are conquering the mindset and the fitness. I do 52 weeks of free training in there. Plus, I coach and I mentor people, as well as give you access to tons of resources and guides. It's called my Upside Down Fitness community because we work on a lot of mindset stuff, the inside stuff. And we're a fun group of people striving to make healthier habits in this awesome chapter of life. So make sure you get in there. I promise you'll absolutely love it. Just head over to upsidedownfit.com and you can get into the group. And hey, you would be an awesome friend if you get over to iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast and leave an honest rating and review for the Power Blast podcast. It helps awesome people like you find this show even faster, and that's who I'm looking for, awesome people like you. That's all I have for this week, my friend, and just to let you know, you absolutely rock. That's all I have for this week. I'll see you on the next Power Blast podcast, and always remember, it's never too late. We'll see you next week.